So things have moved on quite a bit now since my last video. So it's time to come out and do a full walkthrough. This video could turn out to be quite a lengthy one, but I think I need to do it just to show you how far on that Grassy Bottom has come in the last 2 to 3 months. It's just amazing the transformation we get at this time of year. We're at the end of June now, and we're not that far away from when some of the best grasses start to make a show, or a proper show, which are the miscanthuses. We'll talk about this one first though. This is Calamagrostis, and the one in the background is Calamagrostis acutiflora Cal Forster, and he's looking fantastic, especially when the wind blows. It just looks great, and the biggest reason I've got it is because it's a sterile hybrid, so never going to cause you problems. Give it a go. You can sit that on its own as a single specimen, or you can have it as I've got it down there, which is planted en masse, where it looks great. It looks great in both sections actually. The lighter coloured one that you can see in the foreground, so that one and that one, still Calamagrostis, but Calamagrostis Waldenbusch. The only problem with that one is that it does seed around, so you must be aware of that. But easy enough to spot and easy enough to pull out. The contrast in the two, I think, is brilliant. Look at that. They just look really good when you plant them like this. The Waldenbusch are really standing out at this point. I still put my money on Cal Forster, the one behind, for longevity, because for a long-term look, that's got the advantage over Waldenbusch. Waldenbusch can seem a little bit more, well, a little bit less, actually, than Calamagrostis Cal Forster. But both are excellent. And Calamagrostis family is quite a big one. There's not just those two that I show, I do have other ones. What else can we show in here? So we're at the floating deck at the moment. There's the floating deck, and then this is the long border, or part of the long border, because it's now dissected by the floating deck. And it looks great. So let's see if there's any plants of note we can show you here. This is an elder, and this is a cutting I took 3 years ago, or probably 2.5 years ago. And it's wonderful. I did some early intervention this year. The actual structure was going the wrong way, so I did a little bit of pruning, and I've managed to get it like that. And it looks absolutely stunning. From a little cutting, can you believe, to that, or within 3 years. And there's the parent at the back there. Continues to look fantastic. So next year, I'm going to be taking this one down a bit. I'm going to treat it like a buddleia, because this one is probably 6 years old now. It's only been up at Grassy Bottom for 4. But it's looking wonderful. Last year, if you remember, we had a bit of a problem when the winds hit it and rocked it at the base and dislodged it a little bit. I managed to rescue it again. So what I'm going to do in the spring of next year, I'm not going to do it before then, I hope I won't anyway, is I'm going to clip it a bit like a buddleia, so it'll bring it back down, and then all the new growth will start again, and it'll probably take on a different look, but a nice look, because sometimes we get these little sprawling bits, so that bit there is not keeping in line with the rest of it, because this one, it is a Sambucus, and it's one called Black Tower. So the one that I've just shown you, and I'll show you again, is stunning and more black towery. More like a tower, so fantastic. The one behind that, the one with the creamy white flowers, is the one I like to show a lot. It's a Persicaria polymorpha. 7.5 foot now. Massive. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's in one of the sheep ring bale feeders, as you can see there. But I love it. The size of it is very impressive, and I think if you've got even a small garden, you should try and fit one of those in somewhere. Obviously, you need to put it to the back of the border, where it will dominate and it will grab all the attention. But it is absolutely fantastic. Don't forget, those flowers do smell like fox pea, and that can be quite pungent at times if you're not used to that sort of thing, but I'm used to it. But I love it, and I wouldn't give it up just because it smells like that. Absolutely not. What a stunning and superb plant. We'll show you some of the Persicaries as we go around. I've got a few, and hopefully some will be looking good. The Dovecote is now looking really good. You can see why I've put it there now. It all makes sense. Looks fantastic. So we'll start at this end, and this is the orchard border, and he's looking fantastic as well. Another Calamagrostis of Waldenbush there, which is wonderful. I'll not just talk about grasses, but we'll show you one or two others, and we'll show you one called Actaea racemosa, which is this one. And I'm still waiting for its flowers to open. They seem a little bit shy. They don't really want to open. They're supposed to be a little bit of a white flower. In fact, they're completely a white flower once they open. I'm not sure whether they're actually going to open. They've been like this for 3 weeks at least now, looking like that. But hopefully they'll come good soon and open up. I love this border. This border's, well, I love all my borders, don't I? Let's face it. But I do really like this one. I think one of the reasons is that I've got quite a collection of miscanthus here, all down this section here, all the way across. Loads of miscanthus, and I'll show you those as and when they start flowering. Or we'll go into more detail. There's another elder here, and this one's called Laced Up. Still a baby at the moment, still waiting for it to do its thing so it can become a more permanent part of this border. But it's looking good. The yellow flower that you're looking at here, oh, it's not really showing yellow in there. Ah, there we go. So that is Anthemis tinctoria, and the variety is E.C. Buxton. Quite a nice variety. Its only failing is it can get tall and flop, hence me putting it behind there. Looking good, really nice. Delphiniums, not a big delphinium fan. Used to keep delphiniums, don't anymore, except this one, which I got from Ben up at Cliffbank Nursery, and it is superb. My neighbour, 2 doors away, in fact, the big house you can see in the background is where he lives to the right, and he produced these for me out of the seeds from the original that I bought from Ben. And this is Delphinium requenii, and it's an annual, so you've got to collect the seed, grow it, and then it'll do that all in a year. Fantastic. I absolutely love it now, and it really does play a part with my grasses because it's upright and can compete with the grasses, so makes it a good choice, really. Definitely worth looking out and getting hold of. So the one behind it, it collapsed last night. I completely forgot about this. I completely forgot to actually give it some assistance and actually give it some sort of plant supports early on, because it tends to get to a fantastic size. It's very rigid for quite a time, but then what we get here is we get the winds blowing down over that edge. And what happened yesterday was it blew the whole thing down, so I've had to tie it up. And this is a thistle, and it's a native thistle to the UK, to Scotland, I think. And I absolutely love it. And it's called Cirsium tuberosum. And it's definitely worth having. They're about to open, you can see there. But it's worth having. It's more for a wild garden, really, and really it does need to be in a corner or somewhere it can be supported by other plants, or it will tend to flop over. Next to it, which is quite confusing sometimes, is a plant that's self-seeding around. Never came in this part originally. I've put it down here. I collected some of the seedlings, put them into pots, and decided I think one would look good here. And it's very much, or very reminiscent of that same plant. So I'll show you the leaves on that, you can see. And this one is Clasia bulgarica, and it produces a white flower, almost like the Cirsium flowers. I'm trying to see if there's any forming yet. They will be forming inside there at the moment. As I look at that now, there'll be a little flower bud in there. In fact, shall we have a look? See if there is one in there. Often there is. Might not be. Ah, there you go, see? Told you. You can just make it out there in the background. Just there. And that's the new flower. So it's not to be confused with this one. Very similar, but not the same. Totally different. And until you get your eye trained to these two plants, you wouldn't realise that they were different plants. But they are. This is very much impressing me. This one is called Deschampsia Cabana Buta, and it is 6 foot to the tallest seed. The most strongest Deschampsia I've ever had, and it comes from Romania. What a fantastic grass. Definitely worth adding to your collection if you like grasses. Try and include this one. Wonderful. This is the parent of a grass that a friend of mine found down at the nursery where I'd kept them previously, and I know that this to be one of the parents of that seedling that he found, and that we've separated out and we're now trialling. And then Goldschleier being one of the other ones, which actually were in view of Goldschleier right at the back there. So they are the two parents. I know that because the new plant has the attributes of this one being tall, very tall, but it has the colour of Goldschleier. So wonderful. And it makes 5 foot. Almost as tall as this one. Not quite. But it's great at this time of year because it is Deschampsia season at the minute. They're all coming out, all doing the thing, and all looking good. Got a Liferum here as well. This is a Liferum species. Just an ordinary Liferum that you'd probably find out in the wild. I've got 1 or 2 of these around the garden. I just like to have them. Quite nice. This is my nursery area where I stand out all my plants that I'll either sell on or I'll put back in the garden. That looks good. See, when I design gardens, I'm looking for views. I'm looking from my point of view that if somebody came in with a camera, I've created the perfect scene for them. In fact, I'm going to snap that picture and this may become the title page. So that is great. And that path was put in, was it last year? I think it was the beginning of last year. He's now settling in absolutely beautiful. You can see the polo, the round ring. That's what I call the polo. And then it's got those plants in that I've just been describing. Persicaria and the Calamagrostis, either side of that path, and the dovecote that I made, by the way. Don't know if you know that, but I did. So here, we've got a bit of a wildlife bit. This is called Bressingham Bountiful, and it's a buddleia. And it seems to have some sort of viral thing going on now. I think that's my fault, because I've also got a cutting of it that a friend took for me. And it looks fine. But this one seems to have a viral problem. And we've had a bit of a funny year, so it doesn't surprise me. Nevertheless, I think that's going to prove to be a beautiful plant. I should really have clipped it back in hard again, but I wanted to see how it flowered. We've had a lot of wind, and as a result, look, we've got lots of breakages on this one. It does annoy me, but there's nothing you can do about it. Nature does this. It offers opportunities often. In this case, it's probably wrecked a few flowers, but, you know, there's plenty more there. So I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. And it is a wild area, just a little section. Never really intended that to be there. Just wanted to keep this area as the orchard with just grass. But, you know, I like to put in borders. That's another courted area. That's Evita. Still a baby. Nothing's happening with that at the moment. I will show you a beautiful one up the garden, a different variety. Another courted area that's absolutely stunning and is at its best at the moment. So just hang on in there. Eupatorium cannabinum starting to look good, starting to set its flowers. A very understated plant that people kind of don't get, but it's a wild form of Eupatorium. And behind it, I've just plonked it in for now. I don't think it's actually going to sit in there permanently. You can see it's still in its plant pot there. It's in the ground. And that one's my own Eupatorium, and that's Skinny Mini. But looking absolutely superb. So you can see the two together there, and you can see the marked difference. Take a steady walk through, show you a few bits. That's Geranium silostemum with a silent P. Very nice. A lovely colour, I love that. Hostas are looking great. Still, they're all about to flower. Most of the ones in my pots are flowering. Behind it, we've got a lovely miscanthus, which isn't flowering yet, but when it does, I'll show you more of that. But it looks superb. That's miscanthus memory. Fantastic. Here's the astrantias. This is the stage they're at now. They're starting to set their seeds. They're still looking good. I will remove loads of those. I'm not going to allow them to flower too much. Otherwise, we're going to have seedlings everywhere. Another Deschampsia down there. That's Gold Tower. One of the best, I think. Apart from the one I've just shown you. But Deschampsia Gold Tower has a long season of interest. And once it flowers or seeds, as it is doing there, they last for quite some time. So they're looking good. These echinaceas, these metal ones, are now settling in. They're getting rusty. I love them. I must find someone else who can produce me some cheap ones. And I've set them in just the ordinary echinaceas. This is the Brassicum hybrids, and these come out all different colours, and they're all starting to flower. So within a couple of weeks, I should be able to show you more of those. Roses again. Roses looking good. Dublin Bay at the back. And then this one here is probably one of my new favourites, called Lilac Bouquet. Fantastic, love it. Oh, look, see, this is why I built this. So once this all gets covered completely, as it is doing, albeit with some very diseased roses this year, eventually it will look fantastic. And all those roses will cover all this section, and then you will have to walk up to this to look through it. So you get great views through. And you can see Starlight Symphony through there, the white one, and behind it Gertrude Jekyll. I've done a lot of pruning last night, as I said, so I've taken away a lot of the dead roses. Oh, there's Spud. Looks like he's going to attack me. No, he's changed his mind. I'm bigger than him. This looks good. This is Empress Wu. Not as big as it can get. It can get to 5 foot, that, but still a relatively young plant. It's in a dustbin. Needs a lot more water than it's getting there. It's reliant on me giving it the water. So if I could get down there every day and absolutely feed it with 2 gallons a day, it would definitely be bigger. And that's also flowering. This is the Cloister Pergola. And is now starting finally to look good. I mean, I think it's always looked good, just as a structure, but it's looking particularly good now. And I added this section on last year towards the back end. That path I've got to change. It's just doing my head in. I've got to use a lawnmower here, and I keep saying I want to get rid of the ordinary turf grass, but I can't get rid of all of it because some of it I need to keep there. But this one can go. It can be a path. Whether I change it into that section like it is at the back there, I don't know. I might shake it up a little and put some other type of path in there, but it will only come up to the end here. The reason, because I can't get the lawnmower in and out successfully. It just bangs and clanks and all sorts, because it's not high enough. The path behind it is higher, so I donk the lawnmower onto that railway sleeper there. And you can see it's a lot longer at that back end. But we'll deal with that. That's a good miscanthus. That's Miscanthus Cabaret. It's not likely to flower for us, as I always say, this far north. I believe it flowers further down south in England, but not here. I'm not likely to see it. Unless we had a heat wave that lasted several months, I don't think that will flower for us. But I love the leaf on it. It has different striations in the leaf, you can see. All of them have a different type. And it looks great. Starlight Symphony, looking good. The silver birch is looking good. I've done some work on that. As I say, often you really need to intervene and clip out some of it, some of the branches, because they're not always going to go where you want them. So you must intervene and do something about that. Rosa Glauca is definitely getting bigger now, which I'm pleased about, but I've got a lot of pruning to do with this one. I've got to kind of sort out how I want it. I think I'd like it to get to about 5 foot and then kind of clip it back each year. Well, not kind of clip it back, I've got to clip it back if I want to maintain the shape. There's the grass I mentioned the other day. And that's Girava Itchu, and it's beautiful. Love it. And then the Acanacloas in there. They're looking good now. Quite happy with them. I think they're going to do what I intended them to do, which was fill out that entire feeder, the sheep bale feeder, that ring. I hope for them to be 3 foot each, and then they'll complement the birch beautifully. That little hydrangea there, that's Aspera Sargentiana. I said before it was starting to set flower, and it is. Flowers are coming up now, looking good. And then we'll take to this next because we can't walk past this. This is fantastic. This is a beautiful Cortaderia, and it's what is classed as a dwarf in Cortaderia, so a smaller one really. Although they have reached 7 foot, those flower spikes, they look brilliant. I bet they look fantastic when they're clipped and put into some sort of a vase. Of course, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to see the beauty out in the garden. And they look absolutely fantastic. What a colour. I'm so impressed with this one. It's not easy to get hold of, but I am passing one up to Ben at Cliffbank Nursery, and he'll propagate it, no doubt. And in the future, he will be able to sell you that one. And it really is stunning. It will make a 5 to 6 foot clump, as you can see here. I've got it coming over that box edge. I don't mind that. That's fine. It'll cause a problem when I come to clipping that box, but it's definitely worth it. And it's called Cortaderia Patagonia, and it's one of the more bluer forms in the leaf, so it's on the blue side of green. When I say that to people, I have to kind of explain myself, and actually, looking down there, you can see the more, I'd say, grey blue of some of them, and then others are green. And if we got a really hot season, I've no doubt most of those would turn to that more blue colour. But what a beautiful plant. Let's have a view from here. So that view is beautiful, and we're outside the cloister pergola. Beautiful, looking fantastic. I can't say enough about this one. You really must try and get hold of this one. And I do take splits, and it will come true from seed. Never seen any seedlings, but I've only had it here, what, 4 years? Yeah, 4 years. Now, to the left of it, that's Ligusticium lucidum, subspecies lucidum. What a fantastic plant. Again, you may be able to get that from Ben at some point, because I'm going to collect him some seeds, and I'm going to collect myself some seeds, because that is monocarpic, and that means once it's flowered, it dies. And that's been 3 years to get to this phase. A year in the nursery where I bought it from, and then I had it in the ground last year, and then this year it's flowering, so that's about 3 years. Wonderful. I can imagine that all over the garden. God, I do get excited over these little ones, but what a combination there. And that's a plant association. I talked about this on the radio the other day, about how to associate plants. So the thing that's probably missing is something like a ligularia, a big leaved thing, but that is more of a cow parsley type plant. That's how you can describe it. And then it's got the upright of the grass there, you see, and you can see, look, it just looks great. They just make a wonderful combination. Behind this is my first miscanthus that's going to set seed, and I'm quite surprised at that this early on. Them seeds were setting 2.5 to 3 weeks ago. They were very small at that point. They're now coming up. These make massive seed heads. I'll show you those a bit more as they get going. We've now got a gap here. I don't know if you remember, but I sprayed by mistake. One of the Calamagrostis got sprayed, and it was on one of my best single specimens that I had. And this year it was going to look stunning, but no, what did I do? I sprayed this path, and we got a bit of wind drift, and it caught the plant, which normally wouldn't matter, but it was still relatively fresh growth at the time, so it took a lot of it, and it's almost killed it. In fact, it has killed it, really. There's only a bit left on it, and I am going to throw the whole plant away. No point keeping it. What I've replaced it with is this plant here. This will take it really well, this conditions, because this is a very hard border. This is part of the long border, and it's very hard to put plants in here that can take the conditions, because it's very stony, very dry, although it does have moisture lower down, and it's hard to get plants going. So I've put this one in here because I know it's going to do really well. And that's Phlomus italica. And it produces purple flowers. And it's beautiful. It really is. It's a bit like Stachyus. The leaf is a bit like Stachyus. And it's soft. But this makes more of a shrub. And it can be cut back each year, should you so wish. I've done that to great effect. But this one I'm going to leave unless it's looking a rubbish shape, then I'll do something with it. There's another Circeum behind there. That's Circeum Mount Etna, always described as beautiful as it produces its leaves. Looks like it's going to make a good show, and then it goes out with a fizz rather than a bang, which is, you know, it's a shame really, because it is a really nice Circeum, and it's a thistle, obviously. I believe this one isn't a sterile, so it may find its way around the garden. I don't know. I've never found one. I've had it here 2 years. But it has that lovely colour on top, so that's more of a pinky colour to the top of it. And it has a lovely clump-forming habit, as you can see there. Nice euphorbia, that. That's Donii. What a beauty. I've got the other one here, which is a bit of a sad state at the minute. And that one's called Excalibur. The only reason that's looking so poor is because I moved it a bit late, because it was in an area where I was changing at the time, so I had to find somewhere to put it, and I put it there. Bit of a wrong choice, really. I wish I'd put Donii there, because I think Donii would do better. It does spread a little bit, Donii, but it's definitely worth having. Looking wonderful. It's looking good. Cloister Pergola from here is nice. If you look in the background there, there's a school on the right, and then to the left, that's the Lincolnshire Wolds, or part of it. We're tucked into one of the valleys here. I live at a little village called Bimbrook. It's beautiful. So this area is doing really well now. They're the cow feeders that I've planted up. It's looking wonderful. We'll not go into that in detail, but you can see it looks wonderful. Got lots of asters going as well, doing really well in pots. Very well. Here we're looking out onto the birch border, and that birch is Silver Shadow. A wonderful small birch, really. Well, definitely is. It's not, what's that, 8 foot? I'd say that's 8 foot, and it's not going to get any bigger than that. And is supposedly the whitest form. But I carried it around in a pot, didn't I, for years. Didn't really do it any favours. There's another Circeum there, so I can give you an idea. That's Circeum rivulare atropurpureum. And you can see it's blowing now. It's a sterile. People think that sets seed. It doesn't. It's a sterile. It can't set seed. What you can do, though, at this time of year, which I intend to do today, possibly, is cut that back. And then it will give me a second flush. Albeit less flowers, it'll still look wonderful. This Lysimachia is impressing me this year. The colours you can see at the bottom there are the colours it's going to take on in autumn. The whole plant will go that colour, and it's wonderful. This one's a Lysimachia, and it's one called Lysimachia clethroides, the gooseneck Lysimachia. And you can see that flower will come to about 3 times longer than that, like a goose's neck, but will look wonderful. I must say the Erigerons are looking good this year, especially on these steps. They look fantastic. So here's a border I've never really named, but looks great. Some great plants in there. That Rheum Australe, look at those colours, I love it. That's the colours again, it goes in autumn. I've put it under a little bit of stress because I've not watered it as much this year, so it's giving it a little bit of stress, and it's causing those sort of colours to come in, which is brilliant. I love it. And then the seed heads are at this point, and I could collect those seeds and grow them on. I've never ever found one of these in the garden, and it produces hundreds of seeds. Oh, the Echinops is finally starting to get its colour. So this is Echinops venaticus, Taplow Blue. And if it, there we go, look at that. Isn't that just wonderful? Look at nature, we can't beat that. Nature is definitely the master of us. And things like that really do fire me up. What a geek I've become. but nevertheless. And then behind it's got the alliums. And they look good. They're past their best now, but they're getting into another phase of being good. That point, I like them at that point. And I wouldn't remove them at that point either. This is Acusinensis. I've got one called Lilac Squirrel, which is better than this one, an improvement on this, a variety. But this is nevertheless still a good plant. Look how many seeds it's producing. It's looking good. Before I forget, we'll take you around and show you another plant I'm quite excited by. It's second year, so it's doing really well. Walking over the gravel area at the moment, and this one's called, the blue one in the background, or the purple, I don't know how you're viewing that, bluey purple, is called Catananci Caerulea. So the Caerulea means blue, although it does look a bit purple, but I love it. Look at that. Is that not just wonderful? And that is next to that ferny leafed one called Solanum Wallichianum. That's yet to come into its best and produce flowers, and when it does, it's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Euphorbia Malachi there. Look, still looking a bit, well, non-flowering, as you can see. All the ones at the top there, what are looking a bit shaggy and straggly, I really ought to cut those back in to allow the new growth underneath to push on a bit. But I can't bring myself to do it. But I must do it. At some point, I must do that. This is a good plant. This is Lysomachia epimerum. And it has these wonderful flower heads. This is not a runner. May seed around, but it's not a runner. It's a clump former, a very well behaved clump former as well. Next year might be a different game. We don't know. Could run all over the place, but I doubt it. So we'll just do a quick tour around this area. This is looking good now. As I said, this video is quite long, so you're going to have to bear with me. And that is a lavender. And it's called Edelweiss. It's now starting to flower white. I've hardly watered this. In fact, I watered it yesterday for the first time. I've left it to struggle because they really do like it tough, rough. So here, this is wonderful now. Absolutely fantastic. We'll start with this one. This is Eryngium agavifolium. Flowers finally starting to push up. So look at the detail on that. And these are so spiky, really are spiky. So be careful if you get that one. But it has a fantastic look about it. Well, that would look good next to a house. Definitely, because that is definitely architectural. But as I said, beware. Very spiky. And this plant's brilliant. This is Dormia ammonicum. What a fantastic seed head. As you can see there. Fantastic. I love it. Albeit a little bit splayed out, I think it's still brilliant. Definitely. And then the star of this border, in my opinion, Cortaderia richardii. Look at that. Fantastic. That's what, 8-9 foot now, the seed heads. I just love it. That definitely gets your attention. You will seed around, make no bones about that. Will seed around. You will have to pull them out, but you won't find too many as long as you keep on top of them. Well, you will, won't you? Because that's a kind of contradiction in terms. You will find them, but if you keep on top of them, it shouldn't cause you a problem, I think is what I'm really trying to say. This little pot's looking fantastic. It's brilliant, looking good. I don't often show you these. This is Pinus mugo, one of the Pinus mugos. I have 3 in this garden. There's that one, which is quite big, and then there's one in the background. You can't make that out. We'll show you that in a minute. And this is up the path, and the tree that's doing really well there is a betula. It's called Jolep or Joe's tree. Fantastic. And is classed as the driveway tree because of its upright and narrow habit, and it is. I've got 2 of those now. And we've got the bronze fennel, Feniculum vulgare, which is wonderful. It's just about to set its seed edge. You can see now all them sections are all going to be flowers and then eventually seeds. Supposedly spreads everywhere. only ever found 2 or 3 plants from that. I won't worry too much what the books say, just wherever you put it, it may be different for you. And there's proof so here. Oh, there we go, look, Phlomis. That's Phlomis italica, the one I mentioned that I've put in the other border, in the long border. That has been clipped back, and that's what it does, it forms that shape. If you've got an area where you can let it go, clip it back in the first 2 or 3 years and then let it go. Let it form a lovely big shrub, because then it will produce you masses of flowers. I did some pruning on this rose, which reminds me I must go collect all the rubbish up. And that's the Generous Gardener, and I've got it looking really nice now. A bit more interesting than just putting it up a pillar and leaving it. I've actually made it go across into thin air by wires. Phyllictrum's looking good. They've all done well this year, the phyllictrums, all of them. This isn't on as far as I thought it would be at this time of year, especially the fact we had a lot of rain early on. It hasn't got there. I'm quite surprised at that. It is getting there, and it will reach the height of the grasses behind it by the end of the season. A bit slow this year. And that particular Rundo is a Rundo Donax macrophylla, which means big leaves, and it has hugely leaves, but they're not there yet. Verbena bonariensis are now starting to do their thing. Quite a lot in this area. They all come from the original Verbena bonariensis, which is called Buenos Aires, supposedly a longer-lived, more floriferous flower or plant, and it is. It's proved to be, and it's supposed to actually seed true, and I think it does. There's an Anthusa in the background there, the blue flower. It looks good from here. I'm just admiring, that's why I've stopped talking. Sometimes it catches me. I forget how beautiful this garden's become. That's the Telegraph Pole Pergola walk down there, looking great. So you can see the importance of adding structures into gardens, definitely important, including just this simplicity of this single, what was a gatepost, stuck into a border, just put there. Just looks really good. I have a few of those around, as you know. There's the other Pinus Mugo, quite tall, looking nice. Grass is looking fantastic in there. And this is Raponticum centraudes. It goes by 2 or 3 other names. A couple of them are accepted botanically, but I call it Raponticum because I like it. I actually bought it as something different, but Beth Chatto calls it Raponticum. If it's good enough for her, it's good enough for me. And that little one down there, so that's a Bellota pseudodictymus, and it will produce purple flowers. They're not there yet, but if you've got a really dry area, put that on the top of your list, because it's definite for that. And so is that, and so is that. All 3 of those are beautiful. I've got a little bit of cloud pruning to do on this. We're at the point now where I can cloud prune it. Originally, I'd done lots of little sections in here, so I've done little sections. But now I'm going to actually take it and round it off at each one of those, so we can get them individualised again. But rather than having 3 or 4 in that section, I'm now going to keep it as a single dome, and we will clip that in accordingly. Still a bit of work to do up here. You may notice that, which is a potato sieve, in there. There was a frog. It jumped in there. My cats chased a frog in there, and it was swimming about. Had no way of getting out, so I've put that in there, and I'm leaving it for now for it to climb out, and it has climbed out and it's disappeared now. Hopefully the cats aren't eating it, because I know cats do like to eat frogs. This is an Achillea chrysocoma grandiflora. He's now at another phase. You can see the leaves are yellowing off. They're kind of sacrificial to the plant once it comes into flower. It is kind of splayed, as you can see, very splayed, but looks good. But those stems are still quite stiff and are holding. I must make a note to myself and pull the flowers that are the other side of the fence, this side, before they get to that point. It's too late now, can't do it, but they're all from the single clump. But they have managed to fall over and then go through the fence that way, which is all right, but when we walk up the driveway, it's a little bit of a pain. Here again, the importance of euphorbias. I took the rest of the flowers off of that yesterday. And then you can see to the right there's some of the rose clippings that I was doing. They're all done. What else? We've got a eupatorium there, skinny mini again. And this border's still quite young. As you know, it's only a couple of months old. It's looking good. It needs a lot of weeding. I've left it at the moment because I just wanted it to settle in without me interfering, really. But I think we've come to the point where I need to get in there and chop some of those down. And then the euphorbia that I never sold is there, looking good. I've actually got another one. So if the same lady who sees this one calls in, there'll be another one there for sale. She probably won't see this video, she probably don't watch them. But anyway, so this is sanguisorba and lilac squirrel. As you can see, they're not coming out yet. That's the point they're at. They're not going to be too long before they come out, and that is going to look absolutely fantastic. Sanguisorbas are brilliant. Here's the half shady border. Looking good. Lots to see in here. Lots. Too much to mention, really. I've got the digitalis Stewartii. I think one or two people don't believe that's Stewartii. I bought it as Stewartii. I'm assuming it's Stewartii. It's not flowering yet, and it does self-seed, and it is a perennial rather than purpurea, which is just an annual. And then we've got a nice astrantia there. That was bought from the Plantsman's Preference in Norfolk, and that's just a Jill Richardson selection that he made himself off his own plant, and it is proving to be nice. Ferns are looking good. As I say, they don't look good all season. They tend to go over quicker than most. I think they probably just require a bit more moisture to keep them looking fresh, and they don't get it under that tree, but they do grow under trees, so that's why I put them there. It's a shuttlecock fern, Metachuchia strophiopteris, which is quite a mouthful and requires a lot of vocal training to be able to say it. Hosta's looking good in those pots. This arrangement isn't right yet because I've been working on the Japanese style border, and I'm not going to show you it, but I will show you this at the minute. This is Kathy's Arbor C, and I've painted it black on the outside now, and there is a reason for that. That's to mix in with the Japanese border, which I will do a full video on in the next, I think, about 3 weeks, because it's not finished, but it's not far off. We will tease you with this little bit just to show you, give you a bit of a taste, a bit of a teaser. But as I film this, it's to the left of me, but I'm not going to show you. You'll have to have a little bit of patience. That's a nice view. I always say that's a nice view. I'm inside or underneath the Telegraph Pole Pergola walk at the moment, and it looks absolutely wonderful. Oh, nice, just spotted it. This geranium is Anfolcard, and it does weave its way through that. That's an elenium, not out yet. And I've done it deliberately there, put it in there deliberately, because I wanted it to climb through there, because I know they do climb through different plants. This is part of the owl border, looking good. Oh, there's another sanguisorba. We ought to show you that, didn't we? I can't remember if this one's Alba. Not 100% sure. I'll try and find the name out when I put this up, and I'll put exactly which that one is. Not sure, because there's one called White Tanner. There's Alba, whatever. And I honestly don't know. A friend gave me that, and I'm sure I've got the label somewhere, so I'll hunt that out. So we'll try not to show you the actual Japanese border. I'm being very careful here, because you're going to spot it otherwise, and don't want you to see it yet. Right, that's a nice plant. That's Acanthus. And it's an Acanthus mollis, but in the Spinosa group, and it's called Rue Laden. Now, I've recently read at the Plantsman's Preference, he's got another one that is probably as good, if not better, than this one. So maybe I'll have a look at that again and consider getting one. But I'm quite happy with this one. It does get quite tall, and it has a white flower, as you can see. So this is the back end of the owl border. Looking good. Looking good. There's Verbena Bampton there, looking very nice. And we've got Eupatorium, and that's a Debaium type called Baby Joe. And it doesn't get very big, 3 foot apparently. It's not doing very well here at the moment, but it's only its first year, so we'll give that a bit longer to make sure it'll do okay. Behind it, I've got a plant that really prefers a drier area that is doing well. That's why I wonder whether that Eupatorium may have to be moved. Not really damp enough for it. Behind there, you can see, so this is the phase we get to with this Miscanthus. So remember, this Miscanthus starts off from nothing, because I chop it back every year. And then, at the minute, I think now 10, 12 foot, if not 13 foot now. Last year it made 14 on the official measurement, but that is definitely going to be bigger than that. I reckon that's going to make 15 foot this year. And one thing I say about this one to people is it produces this lovely plum stem at this time of year. What happens is all these bits fall off. They naturally fall away from it. I come in here and clear it up because I'm a really sad geek. I haven't done it yet because I ain't had time. I'm busy with this Japanese garden at the minute. And it produces that stem, which goes quite a way up. In fact, it goes right to the top usually, and then the leaves tend to stick at the top. It looks quite nice, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's put those leaves back in there. I've got enough mess around this garden. I'm backing out of here because I don't want you to see the Japanese garden. I know there's a few of you going to be a little bit frustrated at that, but I'm afraid you'll have to wait. Nice view. Very nice view. I like that view. We'll just quickly pop through to the Nook. And thanks to the chap that made himself noticed and told me he was the chap that named it. Thank you again. Thank you very much. If you're ever passing, don't know where you live, if you're ever passing, nip in and have a look at it. There you go, it's wonderful. Kathy's put me a little sign in, the Nook. We're going to put that on the door eventually, but for now it's going to remain there. But as I said, when you come into here and you sit down, this is the view we get. This is why I love it so much. And it is looking fantastic in here. Deliberately pared back, deliberately simple in this area, because that's all I want. I just want somewhere to sit. A hiding place, a secret place. Oh no, it's suddenly decided it's going to have a little shower. So I'm going to get caught in a shower now. Well, I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. I checked the weather as well. Anyway, we'll carry on regardless, said the beautiful south. We'll go under the Nook. We'll go under the shack. There's the shack. Oh, there's the name. One of my first big structures. In fact, I think it was the first big structure. I think we'll sit under here for a couple of minutes, let the shower go over. I'll explain a little bit about this. So the shack was built so I could sit around, hide myself away in there. Windy weather, cold weather, I could sit inside it. And that's what we do. So we'll open the door up, show you inside. My neighbour gave me that to sit in, and it's just basically all this. It's just basically that. And I put these windows in so I could sit in here, hide away, and I can't go to the third window because you'll see the Japanese garden, or part of it. So I'm going to keep there. And then we've got the rest of it. And I'm going to paint this out. I know it looks all right like this, to be quite honest. And believe it or not, I've insulated this shed. So it remains quite warm, and not warm, but it doesn't get as cold as it could do in the winter. It's wonderful. So we'll look down there. We've got another Persicaria here. This is Persicaria polymorpha that I showed you earlier. Not as big as the other one, because this is only in its second year. And this I found as a seedling. You do find seedlings of it, as I've said. But don't worry too much, because you can identify them pretty early on and get rid of those. We've got Acer Trompenborg here. Now, I'm not completely sure whether that's going to have to be moved long term. And if I am going to move it, I'm going to have to move it soon. It tends to go really pale at this time of year for no reason, no apparent reason. I'm going to do a bit more investigation. Let's have a look, see what's going on. But there's definitely something going on with that. I suspect it's in some soil it's not happy with, because I've noticed it's quite clay, or quite a clayey soil down here. Whereas the hydrangea is doing very well, and then the honeysuckle behind it is doing well. But the hydrangea tends to have this more muted colour at this time of year, which I'd like to say is because it's maturing, but I don't think it is. I think there's something not right in that soil. There's a little Astrantia. I'm not going to. I'll go up close to it in a minute. It's there. That one, Astrantia involucrata, and that's one called Shaggy. A very nice one. Does produce seeds that are nothing like it. In fact, there's a seed here. Now that shrub there, the scent is amazing. That's a Philadelphus Bellatoile, a beautiful, beautiful shrub. It will be clipped back down this year because it's getting a little bit out of hand in its shape. I need to shape it up a little bit better. So as soon as it's flowered, bang, 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 we're gonna cut it. We're probably gonna take an almost shape like that. So we'll be very careful how we do it, but it definitely needs some attention. Right, the shower is still going to carry on, so I'm going to have to come out. And here's Astrantia Shaggy. What a beautiful Astrantia that is. A bit later than the others, but what a colour. It's fantastic. And then I've got a hellebore here. This is Helleborus argutifolia, or argutifolius. And it's got two flowers, as you can see there, which are drooping to the ground. I tend to leave them a little bit so I can get some seeding, because I like these. They're very good. They last probably 3 or 4 years, and then they... Oh, there's some more flowers there, isn't there? You can see some more back there. And they have a kind of a short-lived life. But wow, what a life they have. Look at that. It's just stunning. It looks absolutely fantastic. Garden looks good from here as well. I'm under the holly tree at the minute, just to give me a bit of shelter. You get to view all that, which is good. Very nice indeed. And then here we have the boardwalk border. As you can see, we've got lots in this border. I'm still playing with things at the moment. Still playing about. Got a lot of plants in here that are going to make it. Some plants I'm going to use as sacrificial, will be removed and either potted up or put somewhere else. Not everything works. Remember, when you put stuff in, you are always experimenting with your own gardens and your own borders, and you have to do that. You have to see what's going to work. Will it work well there? What works well in this border, if I put it somewhere else in another border, might be terrible or might be even better. So that's why I'm always experimenting and trying to improve it. And the biggest problem I have here at the moment is that this is definitely got a lot of clay in it, because I had to break that soil up yesterday. It was getting compacted because I climbed down into that section just to do a little bit of maintenance, and I'd noticed that it was cracking up the soil. So a bit of a sign for me that was. And the reason it's a little bit bare is because I have had to move plants that weren't working, as I said. But at the moment, most of them are. But that's Solanum wallichanum. The little one there, he's definitely not working. That's definitely coming out and being moved. We shall do that, and we might actually move. We might move that grass to the right. In fact, exactly where the solanum is, we might move it there. It's only a little bit of a move, but be quite an important move. There's the Deschampsia I talked about, and it's made 5 foot. Now that is off of Goldschleier and Cabana Buta, a seedling, a chance seedling at that, and is proving to be a really good one, as you can see there, and you can see it's got a lovely colouring. So hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years, my friend or I will make that available, because I like it. And it's 5 foot. And Cabana Buta, as I said, has made 6 foot this year, whereas Goldschleier only makes 3 at a push. So the 5 foot of that is quite impressive, quite unusual. There's a single specimen of Calamagrostis doing well. And it's in its open phase at the minute, which is what I forgot to mention earlier. It's in that open phase and closes back up. Then behind it, we've got Cynara cardunculus. Beautiful, massive plant this year, but is well worth space in your border if you've got some space. This one here, this is Cephalaria gigantea, and just be careful when you put this one in, because it will seed around. And I will be looking for seedlings of that one to make sure it doesn't dominate, doesn't take over. And that's down to me as the gardener, as the keeper. I need to make sure that that doesn't happen. This is beautiful. This is Firecurts. It's just starting to flower. Likes to have its feet in water, but its feet are not in water here. So although my soil isn't watery, it is damp because it's an heavy chalk. And I I think that's why that's doing so well. And it is doing well, fantastic. I moved it back here last year, having put it near the pond or the dip pools, and it just failed on me. It didn't like it at all. So I immediately moved it in autumn and put it back where it did do well, and it's doing well again. That's Achnophorum calamagrostis. And I said it's a seedling, was very upright, and I said it's likely to splay out like the one behind, like that China clover behind it, and it's doing just that, as I suspected it would. And it is more true to type like that, and that's how it will be. So that's okay, I'm happy with that. It's a beautiful grass. If you're looking for a nice grass, definitely worth having. There's a lot of colour to come into this border yet. We're nowhere near the colour. Lots of colour, and I will show you again once we get to that. In fact, here comes some of the yellows starting to come in. Where are they? I can't see. Oh, there they are. I'm looking for them on this here. Oh, there they are. I'm looking for them on here. There they are. So there you go, and that's a Rudbeckia and a Rudbeckia demii, and these green leaves all over here, these are all Rudbeckia demii. Bit of a gap developed this year because I took a plant out that just wasn't making it, and nothing's in there to fill that gap yet, but there will be over time. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was Grassy Bottom. Now, you see the rake there? I've had to do some raking. In fact, now I can see it. So you can see there's some membrane there that needs sorting out. I'll do that once I finish filming. Pull those gravelly bits over to it so it's not as exposed. Up to last week, that was full of weed. I've now got this little beastie, and we're taking out the weed. It's working. Okay, I know there's some other bits in there as well, but we'll have to deal with those over time. But it's looking okay. And the Rheum palmatum, tanguticum, looking good still, although it's getting to the latter stages, and it's now colouring into sort of almost an autumn colour. That can just die away. If I want to save its life a little bit more, I'll just absolutely hammer it with loads of water, and then we will get regrowth. And I could take the seed heads off, which will help again. This is a Stilby. Show you the Stilby. Let's have a look at it. So it's looking good. It's not there yet. It's called Purple Hands. It's in a Chinensis type, and it's going to look fantastic. And then behind it, which I don't often show, this is Gilt Edge, and he's looking fantastic. A bit slower than some of the Condensatus types, but it's quite nice. Quite nice. And I believe it's probably a chance seedling off Jubilaris, which, although I say doesn't flower, because mine doesn't here, I'll show you. There's mine, doesn't flower here, but down south it probably did, because I like to think, how could that have come about? Anyway, so we've got this, and now this remains an aster, and it's Aster Monk, and it's just starting to flower, and it's going to look absolutely stunning. And the flowers last quite a long time once they do come out. And then there's another miscanthus there, another cabaret. I do like them. Have I missed anything? I'm sure I have. I'm sure I've missed loads. Oh, yeah, I have. Here, let's show you this. Oh, this is really nice now. I'm quite impressed with this. And this is a Ligularia. And it's new to me last year. And I just like it. I know it looks boring to most of you, but I like it. And it pairs quite nicely with that Lythrum at the back of it, which is a different type of Lythrum. And that's a Virgatum type Dropmore Purple, which is quite a nice choice. But this Ligularia is wonderful. I'll put the full name on it. I'm not going to say the name of the second bit because it's quite a tongue twister. So I'll just put it up on the screen for you to look at. The wildlife dip pools have been quite successful. Quite successful. They're doing really well, and the whole look of the garden at the moment is looking wonderful. So there you go. Can't show you too much up there because you'll get to see the Japanese garden, and I don't want you to see it yet till it's finished, till it's complete. I think I'm going to end with this because this is by far one of the nicest scenes up at Grassy Bottom at the moment, and I'm regularly putting pictures of this up on my Instagram, which is richardchuck.1. If you look there, you'll see more of these pictures going on from time to time. But that is by far my favourite scene at the minute, with the Ligustitium lucidum, and then behind it Cortaderia Patagonia, all fronting the cloister pergola. Fantastic. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Bit of a long walk. I do like to talk a bit, as you know, but I like to describe things for the novices and for people that have probably never seen some of these plants. And I know there are a few of you making comments saying you've never seen them and you've since bought them, and that's great. I love that. I love to know that I've helped people along and give them a bit of information or shown them a plant they never knew existed to improve their own gardens. That's what gardening's about. It's about sharing your knowledge, sharing your plants. Let's not be mean with them. Okay, I'll talk to you on the next one. Ta-da!